to that. Okay. Lord, protect us both. May our study be fruitful. May we excel together. May our egos not come in the way of our discussion. And may the vision of the teaching bless our lives and the lives of those around us. Lord, let there be peace, peace, peace. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Very good. So we're on page 454 of the home study course, right? Or 455.
455.
Yes, chapter 3, very good. Now, the paragraph that's next, it says Shastra, is that what the one? Or the previous one?
No, Arjuna knew.
Okay, very good. So let me read the previous paragraph, so we can pick up the subject, the theme. This is, by the time the Pandavas had become victorious, a lot of people had been lost. Arjuna's son, Abhimanyu, Draupadi's 5 sons, Bhishma, Drona, Duryodhana, and all his brothers, Karna, and so many others. Thus, a lot of destruction had been done, and Arjuna was very sad. He then asked Krishna to teach him again. Arjuna might have said something like, before the war began, long ago, before all the fireworks, we had a dialogue. It was wonderful. Please teach me again because I have forgotten the words. Perhaps the message is with me still, but the words are gone. Krishna replied that although he could not repeat the teaching verbatim, he could go over what he had taught him previously. Thus, there is one more Gita called Uttara Gita, meaning a subsequent Gita. That's what we left off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now let's see why, Swami Dayananda says that Arjuna needed to be taught again. Right? And this is something interesting because, we have satsang, we listen to the teaching. And at the moment of teaching, it seems like things kind of gel, I say, hey, good, yeah, I go, that's right, fine. But then, after the satsang is over, the following day, the rest of the week and so on, then there seems to be something that happens, that like like a veil comes and clouds what we discussed. So here, Arjuna is asking again. He said, "Well, what do you teach me? Come on." So Arjuna, Lord Krishna is going to do the repeat thing. But even though the words might be different, because he cannot repeat the words identical,
Right.
but the vision is the same. The vision is the same from a different perspective, different angle, like that. But the vision will be unfolded again with a different perspective. So, but let's see what Swami Dayananda is about. Okay. Mala, you want to read the next part?
Arjuna knew that he had to gain this knowledge. In these present circumstances, in the middle of the battlefield, he could only listen. There was no time for him to do a thorough analysis and reflect on everything Krishna was telling him. Therefore, it was something he had to work out. This is why Krishna told him that he should continue to do karma and gain knowledge in the process. The Shastra says that one should do what has to be done within a mind free from the hold of likes and dislikes, with reference to the results of one's action. When one performs action in this way, the mind becomes purified. Only when the mind is prepared can knowledge take place, and through the knowledge one gains moksha. You will find this point consistently
Reiterated.
reiterated by Shankara in this
Bhashya.
Bhashya. Karma yoga or any other yoga does not directly produce moksha, as we have seen. To think otherwise is not to understand. First the mind is to be prepared through karma yoga, and then the knowledge can take place. There is an order here, and it is this order that Krishna was describing in this verse. Then he continues.
Okay, very good. Let's see. So what do we pick up here in this this portion? What did Arjuna realize? He had been exposed to the teaching, but what did he realize?
Like there was no thorough analysis in the first time. So he wants to work out more on
Right, but he realized something. What did he realize? It's right in the first sentence.
gain knowledge.
He says, "I gotta get this knowledge." Now, if he had that realization, in other words, he came to think, wait a minute, I gotta have that knowledge. What does that imply? That what about the mind of Krishna, of Arjuna? What does that imply about the mind of Arjuna? What does it imply? And not everybody has that particular statement. I gotta get this knowledge. To realize, I have to get this knowledge. What does that imply? It implies on what?
Well, there is a value in it.
That's right, he saw value in that. He saw the value of it. Now he did listen to the teacher. And at least that he picked up. Before he didn't know what he wanted. Before he thought, he wanted to find out of the situation. Before the first, second chapter, he wanted an out of the situation. Tell me what's the best of what? Of fighting here, or running away, going over here, going to meditate and all that. That was his original quest. He was trying to find a way to go to the mountains and meditate. he thought that was a solution. But then after listening to the whole 18 chapters, the whole teaching, he didn't get a chance to really munch on it, as they say. But at least he picked up some viveka. Is that right? Viveka means what?
Discriminate.
That's right. He discerned that there's a problem. And the problem is a problem of this mind continues to dwell on the not self. And now I know who I am based upon what you said. But now I had to gain this knowledge, meaning I had to own up this. So he's saying it is not enough to just listen to it and hear it in a general sense, but you need to really do some manana, and then some personal reflection, and not only that, create the condition. Listen, please. Create the condition that will make this knowledge his. And what is that condition he's actually having to create, and through what means?
Purification of mind.
That's right. He had to actually get an antakarana, a mind that is free from all these impurities, like anger, jealousy, and all these things which are negative emotions. And the means for that is what? Karma yoga.
Karma yoga.
Karma yoga. No, so through karma yoga, then the mind will become fit. So this knowledge will dawn upon the mind. The problem is not his. It's not the self's problem. Whose problem is it?
Mind.
The mind's problem. The mind is steeped in this particular idea that I am this limited self. So Arjuna had heard so much about it, and he knew that, but he needed to own it up, make it his. So in this case, for example, the Antakarana had to really own it up. And then, the teacher is saying, Dayananda is saying, that the role of karma, as it's been taken, has been incorrect, because karma has not been understood properly. Does it say that in the last paragraph? The role of karma in spiritual pursuit and self-knowledge and for moksha has been incorrectly taken, because people think, and the way it's been picked up is that it is through karma that you develop, you gain moksha, and that is because of not understanding.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand about it?
Well, I think they are still stuck in that I'm incomplete. That's why you want to do karma.
Right? And will the karma be effective to do that? To resolve the problem of incompleteness?
No?
Why not?
You are still stuck with raga, dvesha and negativities, and your antakaran is not.
Yeah, but now you do a nice karma and all that. Wouldn't I get rid of it? Wouldn't you through karma gain this fullness, moksha that you are?
You still need to have that dharma, adharma, and karma phala data and all those.
Come on, somebody else. That's not the point. Look at that. Why won't karma bring about moksha? Why is
because we
there?
have still that doer.
No, because karma is within the realm of time, space, situation.
Yeah.
Time. And so the karma is by nature what? Limited or unlimited? Limited. And the results of karma being, the karma being limited, will the results will be unlimited?
No.
What the fullness you're seeking for is an limitlessness. That's called moksha, isn't it? You want to discover the unlimited being that you are, isn't it? So karma cannot produce that. It is impossible. Why? Because something limited cannot be, makes someone limitless. As a matter of fact, if you're limited, you'll never become limitless. Because limitlessness is not something you become. Either you are limitlessness already, right? Or you're limited and you're trying to become limitless, and it's impossible. So if you're really limitless, the limitlessness, Brahman, so karma cannot produce it. So the problem then is not a matter of doing something, it's a matter of what?
Awareness.
Of knowing something, that's correct, self-knowledge. But self-knowledge cannot occur in a mind that is riddled by raga dveshas, as you say. Raga dveshas means likes and dislikes. And then, and that brings about anger, krodha, moha, and all those things that Lord Krishna talks about. So karma yoga is a means it's a secondary means to purify the antakarana, the mind, from these negative emotions, so that the fact that you are limitlessness itself can become available for this mind. Not that you're going to become limitlessness or Brahman. You're not going to become the self, you are the self. So karma is an inadequate, inappropriate means for self-knowledge. It can't work. It's not the appropriate means. It's the same thing as in trying to boil water on a paper cup. It's never going to happen. It's an impossibility, because the nature of yourself is already fullness, and it is not something you're going to create or transform or anything. And karma can only transform or produce something that was not there before. So the problem is a problem of avidya. Avidya means ignorance. And the only solution for avidya is vidya. Atma vidya. Jnanam. This has to be thoroughly understood. And Lord Krishna unfolded that to Arjuna. But then, something very important here. Look at this, please. Arjuna was very sincere. You think about it. He went through 18 chapters. We're talking about the highest good in the world and all that stuff. The whole 18 chapters. And he unfolded the whole thing. Now he could have just pretended that he got it. Look at the quality of this fellow. At the end of that amazing unfoldment, because Krishna did it from all different kinds of ways. He resolved tat, tvam, asi. They resolved it completely. That's what the 18 chapters are. First 6 chapters talks about tvam, you. Second chapter, second 6 chapters, from the 6th to the 12th, 7th to the 12th, it is tat, that. And the third set of 6 chapters has to do with what? Asi, asmi, asi. You are that. So he went to the whole thing, and then Arjuna, look at the quality of this fella. So I'm done, we finished, and all that stuff. Now, I still need to get more teaching. He didn't say, well, now I got it. I had the greatest teacher in the world. He was right next to me. Now I'm realized, because that happens to a lot of people. I'm realized, I know, I can just tell you all about it, and so on. He says, please teach me again, because I need to remember this. Why? I need to own up, I need to own up this knowledge. That's the realization that Arjuna had, and that says so much about him, Arjuna. I don't know if you ever thought about it, but it says so much about him. That's why I say, I really went through all the Gita and all the Upanishads and all that. Oh yeah, I can tell you whatever you want. I got it. Ain't no pride. The fellow was very smart. I say, in order to be able to have this vision, you have to be very humble, and then own up to the truth of the reality that you haven't gotten it yet. That doesn't mean that there is a problem with you. It means that the mind needs to be, what? Awakened. That you are the self, you've been unfolded that. But as the mind, picked it up, that's a question that needs to be established. So Arjuna knew this much. Okay? Any comments on this, please?
So how is it? How is the Gita divided? The first 6 are on Tvam.
The first 6 is
First is Tat, right?
no. First 6 is Tvam.
You.
Unfolds who you are.
Okay.
Okay. Then the second one unfolds what the Lord is.
Also,
Tat. No, it doesn't go Tat Twamasi like that. Not no.
Tvam,
Tvam,
okay.
Tat, and Asi at the end. You see, now think about it. Now, all of you have heard the Gita, have been exposed to it. Okay, is it in the first 6 or in the second 6 that Lord Krishna reveals his how do you call this, his nature to Arjuna? You know his nature?
Second set.
Second set. Remember that?
He showed the Brahmanda.
Yeah. That's why Arjuna said, wait a minute, stop that. Because he actually showed him his nature. His nature meaning, from the standpoint of Ishvara. From the standpoint of Ishvara, he is swallowing the worlds. I said, wow. You see, and what is going on in there? So Arjuna is being taught that. But not only that, in that particular second set, it's also showing him the nature of himself as Brahman. And not telling him, I am Brahman, but you are that too, like that. Because that's what he told him at the beginning. So it's actually clinching that together. And look at the Gita, just and see how that works. It's a very methodological process.
Does that indicate his limitlessness in that second?
Right. Well, no. He actually showed them at the beginning. It's who's born and who dies. The self cannot be burnt. It cannot be wet. The wind cannot damage it. And who is that as you? So this is the beginning of the first 6 chapters. And then the means by which you can all that up, karma yoga and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It is interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. When I picked that up, I said, this is great. That Vedavyasa was a sharp fellow. He was a great teacher. Vedavyasa meaning the author of the Gita. Actually, he took it from the Upanishads. It's all that's like they're taking the Upanishads and putting it together and creating something that is kind of synthesized, and put in a particular way that is more accessible. Amazing, yes.
Actually, they're going a little bit away from the subject on PBS, right?
PBS, yeah.
There is a series on India.
I heard about it.
And I happened to look at the first one,
Uh-huh.
and they go back 3500 BC.
Vedas.
Mohenjo-daro and Harappa and all those things. And they discovered Sanskrit writings,
Right.
which we still can recognize, the same Devanagari script.
Yeah.
I could read it at least.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how the thing was put together at that time.
That's right. It's so thorough.
It's so thorough. Really.
So thorough.
They go to the Calcutta Library. That's where they open the
Yeah.
Right.
thing.
That's
Amazing.
correct.
And that's the beauty of Sanskrit language. Another thing, say Tat Tvam Asi
Uh-huh.
or Tvam Tat Asi or Asi Tvam Tat. You can put
Anyway, but you want.
anywhere you want, but because you're
So the order of the that's an
the
altar.
cases that I talked
Uh-huh.
about, 7 cases, those cases define who is the doer, who is the subject, who is the adverb and all those things. So
Yeah.
it all depends on the case of the thing. So you
Right.
can put any word anywhere and you can put the
Yeah,
sentence.
you would think that the Gita will follow the Tat Twam. No, it can go anyway.
Yeah.
It can go anyway. So he does the Twam first, then the Tat, and then the Asi at the end.
Yeah.
It's a great. I'm telling you, the little I know about it, it's an amazing tradition.
I
And-
just wondered
yeah.
where did it go? It is so amazing.
I know,
Really.
because you think about it, 1300. What was it? 1300.
3500
35 BC. Think about it. Now,
5,000
look at the
years.
cultures of the world. Where were they?
Yeah.
in Europe they were still, hanging from the trees. They were still jumping from tree to tree. The people, in Latin America, in America, it was that's a long time ago. The Toltec and Toltec traditions. Of course, everybody has something going, but not that far away. So there's something to it. That's why, when I saw about the Sanskrit and the writing, they call it the Devanagari. It is God's writing. It is God's expression. It's interesting. Very good. So yeah, I'm glad you guys are looking at that. Somebody told me about it, and I didn't get a chance to see it. Are they going to repeat it, or are they going to? It's a series.
This Monday again, 9 to 11.
9 to 11 is a series, isn't it? It's going to be the same.
No, second part.
Second one.
There are 5 parts, right?
5 parts.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be sure to watch that.
Is it Monday or Wednesday?
Monday.
Somebody told us it was Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Some people say it is Tuesday, but I saw it on Monday.
Monday, and again I saw it and it's on Monday.
I wish I could see the first one too. Again, review it somewhere. Maybe they have it at the KQED. Anyway,
Yeah.
so let's go on with this. Okay, so then this is the Shastra. I'm going to read that. The Shastra says that one should do what has to be done with a mind free from the whole of likes and dislikes, with reference to the results of one's action. When one performs action in this way, the mind becomes purified. Only when the mind is prepared can knowledge take place. And through the knowledge, one gains moksha. Okay, you will find this point consistently reiterated by Shankara in this Bhashya. Now, let's remember that this moksha is not really a gain. That is already your nature. In other words, but the notion that I end at the skin completely disappears. And the notion of otherness completely disappears. It completely disappears. And it's not just an information about it. It is the discovery of the fact directly and immediately. The discovery of the fact directly, and the wave can think and they can read about the ocean and I are one, but it still acts in a way as though it was separate. Why? Because even though information is there, it has not sunk into his heart of the wave. So the wave still feels otherness. Now, he could intellectualize and say, well, they were all one and this and that. But they tell him, hey, ugly wave. He said, what do you mean who's ugly? And not only that, is his waves falling away alongside. As one gets older, one starts seeing less and less friends are gone, relatives and all that stuff, mother, father, some brothers and so on. I said, wait a minute, my turn is coming, So the sense of mortality is still there for a wave that has not assimilated this. But by the way, then there's no longer wave. This wave doesn't exist anymore, even though it's still working. It's only H2O. And nobody is coming or going. It's nothing but myself manifested in so many ways. This is a knowledge. This is called moksha. That's a knowledge. And in order to gain that, then the mind still has to snap out of the delusion. It's to snap out of the delusion. So this wave needs to just snap out of the great error of judgment, in which this wave is actually giving credence to the senses and the mind as seeing otherness. So that's why I say, the antakarana, the mind needs to be fit. But the understanding needs to be clear also. Because if there is no understanding of this, so the direction, the mind cannot take that direction that it requires. You know what I'm talking about. No? If you have the incorrect notion that let's say you don't know where Mexico is. Okay, you don't know the cardinal points. You don't understand that. You don't know that it's in the same continent. You know, you can start doing all kinds. You can take shifts. You can do all kinds of things. You never hit it because it's so big. You need to be clear, at least at the beginning. That's why the Shastra, Swami Dayananda was talking about, you know, about Kshatriya. I don't know, remember that? You know, Kshatriya is what? Remember that? A Kshatriya. Who is Kshatriya? Kshatriya is someone that what?
A warrior.
No.
Kshatriya and
No.
Brahmanista.
No.
Those are
Oh.
Yeah, Kshatriya is what? Is someone that is clear about the mythology and what the Shastra.
Yeah.
The guy is knowledgeable about the Shastra. He's clear. This is someone that can guide you, and cannot, you know, the guy has to have a notion. I'm going to talk about Kshatriya. I know geography. I may never have gone to Mexico City, but I know geography. Let's just say, okay. And I know that Mexico is south from here. Okay, and I know the distance is about 3,000 miles from here. And I know that between here and there is valleys and mountains and deserts and everything else. I know that. And I know that if you make a mistake, you know, you hit the how do you call this, the Gulf of Baja California, and you'll never get to Mexico. Why? Because now you go into the peninsula of Baja California, you know. You gotta go on the other side of the Rio Bravo, and so, you know, the Colorado. And so you gotta know all this stuff. I've never been there, okay, let's just say. And you come to me, and even though I've never been there, at least I know how much the trivia in terms of where Mexico is and what is the geography of it and everything. Now, of course, it's better if you find someone that has been there. He's a Brahmanista. But if you find a Kshatriya, at least he cannot misdirect you. Shastra is so important. You say, why study Shastra? You gotta look, you gotta see what the whole thing is about. You have to understand, you know, what this mind, how does it work? What are the nuts that don't allow you to get that, even though you are that. So Swami Dayananda was saying, I'd rather have a Kshatriya, even though he's not a Brahmanista, because at least he won't confuse me. Of course, if he's also Brahmanista, then what's the best? That's a true guru. You see, that's the point of this thing here. So Shastra is so important. So the mind needs to understand, at least have a general perception of it. And Arjuna seems to have gotten some of it. Because he says, now I want to own it up, but please repeat this to me. And when Swami Chimayananda used to finish the yagnas, 10-day yagnas or camps, which were thoroughly immersed in teaching Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads and all this stuff, meditation in the morning and all this, and everybody went to that. 10 days, thorough, beautiful. But then, when he finished the text, he says, now go read the first stanza. I said, what? We went to that? No, go read it again. And then start all over again. It needs to be clear. That's what Arjuna wanted. I want to be clear about it. I need to gain this knowledge. That's wonderful. Yeah. Okay. He said, Karma Yoga or any other yoga does not directly produce moksha, as we have seen. To think otherwise is to not to understand, is not to understand. First, the mind needs to be prepared through karma yoga, and then knowledge can take place. There is an order here, and it is this order that Arjuna was describing in this verse. You know what I'm talking about, the order? What is the order he's talking about? Is that a command? What is
the
talking about?
particular fashion or pattern
That's right.
of things?
Yeah, step by step.
That's right. You see, you have a car with 6 speeds on it, a nice hot rod, okay? You don't start on sixth gear. And start going. He ain't going nowhere at that level. You see, you gotta go to the lowest gear, which is first gear. There's an order. Oh, no, I want to just start running. Well, you'll run, don't worry about it. But become fit. In other words, let this mind become fit. But I am the self. Wait a second, I know you're the self, no problem. But there's an order that needs to be followed. Without that order, there is no, it's like going to exercise. I used to teach yoga and all that kind of stuff. Warm up first. No, let me do start doing, loosen it up a little bit. And listen, loosen it up. Start developing, limber a little bit more. Okay, how are you eating? How much are you sleeping? And so on and so on. Get rid of those things, and limber up. Yeah, but I like to be able to do sarvangasana. This. I like to be able to do shows. Listen, they're gonna fall asleep. Just get ready for it. You have to limber up. In the Ashtanga, the 8 steps, Patanjali's. There's an order. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Yama, niyama. If people don't follow the order. No, I want to do asana right away. How much you charge? $10? Okay, give me $10. Teach me asana. Hey, you guys go to a gym, you don't have to do yoga for that. But if you're seeking what yoga has to produce in terms of the andakarana, you need to have, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, and so on, and so on. There's a particular order. Otherwise, you're spinning your wheels. Something happens, of course. But then, it's not what the thing was designed to do. Something happens, of course. Every action is a reaction. If you're lucky you don't get hurt, something will happen. And of course, it's quality to that. You feel good. Any exercise brings about, you feel good, but nothing, not what it's supposed to do. Patanjali's purpose doesn't get fulfilled. Patanjali, yeah. Okay. So then he continued. Now we're going to go to the next verse. Okay. Who else wants to pick up next verse?
I can.
You okay?
Indeed, by action alone, Janak and others gain liberation. Also by merely seeing the desirability of protecting the people from falling into unbecoming ways, you ought to perform action. Krishna did not say that karma is to be done by everyone. Karma yoga is meant for a person who is a mumukshu, who is desirous of the knowledge that is liberation. For a gnani, one who already has the knowledge, there is no karma to be done. Kartavyam nasti, because there is no doer. The absence of doership is purely in terms of knowledge. The gnani knows that he or she is not the doer or enjoyer of any action. Knowing this, a wise person is not bound by any karma, nor is he or she enjoined to do any karma, even by the Veda. Only a mumukshu has to do karma, as does the aviveki, one who is only interested in fulfilling his or her raga dvesha.
Okay. Any questions here, please? This is clear.
How is it distinguishing between mumukshu and aviveki?
Okay, Mumuksha and Aviveki are both those Ajnanis.
Okay.
Both of them are. Now, but one is lacking in discrimination. A person that lacks discrimination, if you look at the order, it's a Viveka Vairagya and so on. Like that. Why would anybody, seek moksha if he doesn't realize he's actually bound? In other words, if you're not bound, I'm okay. What are you talking about? So the person is not, it has not clicked in. He's ending, and not only that in him there's something that doesn't want to end. He just resigns to it. He's completely aviveka, he doesn't pick up. So now, if the person then picks up and says, wait, I'm going downhill. Then I don't want to go downhill. So now I do anything I can, and then I become a seeker of what? Of going downhill. This is it's a mumukshu. Mumukshu means what? What does the word mumukshu mean?
Seeker of liberation. Seeker of
That's
moksha.
what. That's what it's called, an ardent desire for freedom. Someone that is an ardent, is hot about being free from bondage. And we put it in a different context. Is someone that says, I want to break this bondage. Time, space, causation, it seems like I'm in the mercy of it. I can't stop it. I use all kinds of creams and everything. I had all these operations and I did this. I become fit and everything, but still it seems like going downhill. In other words, I feel limited, and I don't want to be. Say, the fellow says, I try to not think about it, but now I see my kids grow up, and now they're developing gray hair themselves. They say, wait a minute, where is this going? I'm running out of weekends.
Running out of marbles.
Running out of marbles. And also marbles here.
Yeah.
So the person then he says, is there a way out? Now becomes aware, is there a way out? The question comes. And then it comes and says, yes, there is a way out. What do you mean there's a way out? How can you stop time? Cannot stop time. That's not the problem. What is the problem? Question. And then the guy says, please, I want to know. Becomes a jignasu. Jignasu means someone that's, tell me, how do you resolve it? And then for the sake of what? Of being free. Meaning, I become a mukshu. Why? Because now it's dawned upon me that there must be a way out. And not this way. Not the way I've been going. The way I've been going, I've been trying to resolve this situation about limitation by gaining something or getting rid of something. Isn't that the way we try to get freedom from limitation? By getting something or getting rid of something. The problem is I've gotten so much. And I still feel this sense of emptiness in me. Now that's Viveka. So it can't be this way. Because look at all those guys that gotten so much, they got rid of so much. And still miserable. They're still acting like babies. With no teeth anymore. I don't want to end up like that. So that's discrimination. That's Viveka. I want to be free from that. Then that's Mukshu Twam. Mukshu Twam, isn't it? I developed this Mukshu Twam, a desire to be free from limitation. Now, both are Ajnanis. Ajnanis meaning they don't know the self. Is that right? Now, and for them, he says, karma is prescribed. Right? And for them is what karma is prescribed. Now, the Veda even enjoins people for karma. But then he's saying something else. He who already knows himself, which is like jnani, for that, whatever the Veda says doesn't apply.
It is the well under the water.
Right? For them, as a matter of fact, he might be criticized because this fellow here is not doing all this stuff. And what kind of Hindu, how kind of Catholic, or how kind of, because those prescriptions or those commandments or whatever to perform karma are for the ajnani. That's all. Now this guy is a jnani, he knows the self. He's established in the self. Doesn't apply. But for the aviveki and for the mumukshu, they apply. Understand that? So then the question is, okay, and this is something that this is very academic. Now, where do I fall into? Where do I fall?
In this case,
Jnani, Jignasa, Viveki, Aviveki, Mukshu, Tvam, where does my mind fall? That's the question. That, yes.
Where did Arjuna fall in this list?
Well, let's just say us, because this is not for Arjuna, it's for me and you. Okay, so this is the question that needs to be, because these prescriptions of this particular teaching is not just to talk about Arjuna and Krishna and this and
It's the
that.
self, it's the individual.
Yeah, but if I have not realized in terms of Viveka, when I come to conclusion, wait a minute. And me, that desire for freedom is not there. So why? Because there's no Viveka. I need to develop some Viveka. That means you gotta start thinking. That's a problem. Swami Dayananda said, well, this is the other problem with humans, people don't think. You know, I was listening to a show on TV the other day about the problem of people not going to get, what do you call this thing, you know, to prevent colon cancer, what is it, you know?
A colonoscopy.
Colonoscopy. Very few people are doing it. Of course,
Really?
yeah, not very many. And then they don't want to know. You see, they do this thing here, the colonoscopy. You might find out something that you don't like, so out of sight, out of mind. I don't know it, forget it, I don't want to hear about it. Because it is, you know, or we're just too busy doing it. I got too many things to do and so on. You gotta go there and spend 2-3 days or whatever it is. So people don't want to do it. Many people don't want. And then there's a lot of people that are dying out of colon cancer because of it. And then you say, well, are they stupid? No, it's not. But you know, when I look at it, it's painful. So somebody was saying also, he said, I don't like to go to psychotherapy. It's too painful. You know, because I go there and they come out with all kinds of stuff, you know, that make me cry. Or I don't want to go and cry. I don't want to go and feel guilt. All this stuff, because psychotherapy will bring up a lot of issues and those that I don't even know they're there and so on, and become resistant to psychotherapy. And therefore, the person is going around the world like this. But then he doesn't want to find out what's going on. Again, what's happening? You know, there's nothing. You say, you know what, I'm okay. I just take a couple of beers and makes me feel good, no problem. Or I go and buy a few things, you know, as long as my internet is working, as long as my iPhone still works, whatever it is, you know, or as long as my wife's still here when I come back. But she's you know, as long as she's still here, whatever. You know, we don't want to think. We don't want to address it. That's a problem.
Sometimes they have the wrong notion, just as you said, the people think colonoscopy is painful.
Yeah.
But actually you don't even know what's going on.
That's right.
Absolutely, in fact, when the doctor he says you are not driving home yourself, you are getting somebody else.
Yeah.
So when I went for colonoscopy, I don't even remember what I talked with the doctor.
Yeah.
She remembers. I don't remember. The very next day, I did not remember. I talked to her. She says, "Yeah, you talked. You said these. A doctor said to you, and you were chatting for 10-15 minutes." I said, wow,
I went through both. I went through endoscopy and colonoscopy. No problem.
and you
Easy.
don't even feel it.
That's right. But people don't want to know. People don't want to know what's there.
Right.
Or they think they're okay. And they might be okay. But I'll tell you what you don't know can kill you.
But
Easy.
a colleague of mine went, and he was lucky. They found 2 polyps.
Yeah,
So they removed, and they say, hey, just
that's right.
check it out. Come after 3 years. He went there. It was clear.
Yeah,
Nice that it was
yeah.
discovered.
Yeah, it is wonderful. It is wonderful. You know, but the point I was going back to this, you know, the pursuit of self-knowledge is very rare. And that's why I say, you know, that's why we have to actually look at ourselves. Forget about anybody else. You know, to what degree is my mind committed to moksha? I need to understand that. Because look at Arjuna, you know, he says, I better learn this. I better gain this knowledge. That's what he's saying at the beginning. The guy is thinking.
Oh, yeah.
This is so you say there's a value in this. And when he was there with Arjuna, with Krishna in the chariot, he was aching. There was a deep sorrow that he had, and that situation that he was under created the conditions in his mind to cry uncle. You know what I mean by crying uncle?
Mm-hmm.
You know, uncle, there's a Mexican, and I think it's American also. When you were kids, you're playing, and then you take somebody's skin, and you go like this, or you can turn like this. Create some pain. They say, call me uncle. And then, call me uncle. Call me uncle. Uncle, leave me alone. It's a game.
It's funny, you saw Hulk Hogan. I haven't seen him for
No.
last 15 years, but I used to watch WWF. Once in a while, he used to say that. Cry uncle,
Yeah, So the person needs to say how, but how can you cry uncle? In other words, the pain is there, and usually the pain makes us try to get away from it, and we try to take these painkillers. And we don't know that pain is a blessing. And Arjuna, wanted also to get some kind of painkiller by going to meditate. He was hearing the sorrow. The situation was amazingly ugly in front of him. And he wanted a painkiller. And he thought that Arjuna and Krishna is not give him a painkiller. They went directly to the problem. He said, you know what? Please help me, Krishna. Please tell me what's best, Shreyas. And Lord Krishna says, I'll tell you what, your problem has no reason to be. He thought he was going to, okay, go meditate. Because that's what he wanted all the time. He wanted to become a sannyasi. So it was a way, painkiller's escape to the reality. And we're having these pains, heart pains. Look at our relationships, instead of being like this, we're like this. That's why so many wars. And they start in the home, start with the family, and it goes on and on and on and on. Then we create these situations internationally. Instead of being together, there's always this situation. So that's a pain, and we try to quench it with something else. That's the thing. So Arjuna wanted to get a painkiller. But then he actually got someone that was not committed to just giving painkillers. He went to the source of the problem. Krishna interpreted Shreyas as the ultimate truth. And that's why we had the Bhagavad Gita. So the mind needs to start wanting. When I say uncle. But if we just want a painkiller, then just give me a painkiller, keep on hurting me. And that's a big problem. That's a big problem, because then there's no growth for the person. So this is a very, very personal thing. So this is a Viveki that he's talking about. He says at the end, is someone all that he wants is to fulfill his likes and dislikes. That's an Aviveki. All he wants is just to fulfill his likes and dislikes. In other words, he wants painkillers. That's what they are. That's what painkillers are. Because I don't want the thing. I don't want the thing that I have raga for, nor do I want to get rid of the thing I have dvesha for. It is I have an ache. An ache? Hunger is an ache. You know that? Hunger is an ache. Isn't it? Mm-hmm. So I have an ache, and my notion is, by getting this, the ache will go away. Or by getting rid of this, my ache will go away. So I don't want this or that to happen. What I want is to get rid of the ache. And the ache is what? The sense of emptiness. The sense of limitation, the sense of insecurity, all these things, that's the aches. So we're then, by going towards something that we like, or running away from that which we dislike, is like taking painkillers only. It doesn't take care of the problem. So that's what's called aviveki. It's not feel. It doesn't get it. Because it's so obvious that what I want is you. Or what I want is for you to go away. It's so obvious. And even though it's obvious. That's not true. I don't want you, nor I want you to go away, or I don't want this to come or that to go. No, it's not the point. The point is, in me there's an ache, and I'm not addressing the ache, and I think that that will take care of it. And that's aviveka, meaning lack of discrimination, lack of discernment. The mind is not working. It's just reacting. Can you say that? It's just reacting. It's a reaction. A thoughtless reaction. That we need to discover. Then when we start figuring it out, then you become Viveki. And then out of Viveka, look at this please. Out of Viveka, once you have this particular discrimination, let me tell you what will happen. If there is something that I want, that my mind wants to come, Raga will be there. Knowing that that's what the mind wants, but not knowing that there is a pain here, and that thing won't take care of it completely, then I say thank you, but no thank you. Why? Because I know it's not going to resolve it.
Yeah.
That means Viveka. And then, by saying thank you but no thank you, then you become a Vairagi. You know Vairagi? You know what a Vairagi is? Come on. Huh? A person that is free from attachment, that's correct. Viveka, Aviveki, has got hooks, and everything becomes a loop. A hook, a loop, you can call it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everything becomes, and he's got hooks, and he's always attached to that. Whatever happens, he becomes attached, either in terms of rejection or pursuit. If the person becomes a Viveki, then he meets the world, and the world, even though they're hoops or loops, whatever you want to call them, there is no hook in the mind. The mind is not a hook, so he just experiences it, but he doesn't get hung up with it. Women don't have this problem, or men don't have this problem of how do you call this? There's a movie about this guy that there was it's a fatal attraction. I don't know what you call that. You see that? Remember the movie? It was terrible.
Mm-hmm. Terrible, yeah. Yes.
It was a terrible thing. Why was it a terrible thing? Did you see the movie?
Yeah.
Why was it terrible?
Obsession.
Obsession. This person became dangerous. This other person became my God. He didn't know what else to do, my God. Anyway. So then we obsess, towards beings. And beings become, in our mind, the source of our completeness. And then if something threatens that, then we become violent. They say in Mexico that there's no distance between hate and love. Love becomes hate like this.
Very true. Yeah.
And it is because of obsession. So it's aviveka. So an aviveka is someone that things, beings and situations, are something that the mind becomes obsessed with. When a person then develops some viveka, then the person becomes vairagi. Meaning what? The person doesn't obsess. Then there's a male, there's a female, and the relationship becomes healthy. Otherwise it becomes sickening. That's why they say that love hurts. It doesn't hurt. It is the obsession, the passion, and that's what hurts, hurtful. Now, if it's true love, when you suffer, it should hurt, and I wouldn't want you to suffer. But then, if it hurts because I'm afraid that you're gonna be looking at somebody else, and my life is filled with jealousy, then it's not love at all. It's called lust. There's a big difference, which means tremendous obsession, and I make you something you're not. Then you're supposed to fulfill my life. And the moment you threaten, if I feel even in my mind that you're going to be looking at somebody else, I've seen Swamis do that, even gurus, become obsessed with students. And so on. Or students between each other towards a Swami. I've seen that happen too. Obsessed. So there's no viveka. Therefore, there is a tremendous attachment. When the purpose of this whole thing is for you to become free from those attachments. In other words, you have to have somebody like that. That's the steps that needs to be taken, the order of this whole thing. Yeah. And we're all prone to do that. Why? Because this mind is still seeing objects in the world that will fulfill us as promises or threats. So that needs to be eradicated. That's why I say I need to see personally, each one of us, to what degree, is there any viveka there in the mind? And if there's any viveka, if there's a desire for freedom. And for that you have to develop some qualities. Ravi, you want to read the next one?
I hope I can read it.
Yeah, no problem. You go and do the best you can.
It goes without saying that an aviveki, a person whose likes and dislikes have to be fulfilled, has no choice. Karma definitely has to be done by such a person, and while performing action, he or she has to follow dharma and adharma, right and wrong. Otherwise, the results of the person's action will be something undesirable, if not immediately, certainly later. A person who has a value for dharma need not be a mumukshu, a viveki, but may legitimately fulfill his or her desires, keeping what is right and wrong in view.
Okay, very good. Let's make a little pause here. Okay. So this fellow that is an aviveki, in other words, someone with no discrimination, has no choice. What does he have to do? He has to what? Follow dharma. That's why do karma. In other words, he cannot go out there and meditate.
Yeah.
Just into the cave, become a sannyasi. In other words, he needs to follow karma. Meaning what? Work out the situation of the mind. Okay. And then, not just actions. It's not just a matter of as they say, excuse me, as they used to say in the old days, let it all hang out. Well, let's do karma, let's do whatever. No, wait a minute. He qualifies that. What is he qualifying it? Karma, how? Because you can do karma, actions. But how? How is he saying? Following what?
Dharma.
Becoming conscious dharma. Meaning what is right and what is wrong. Meaning having some values.
Discernment.
Yeah, that's right, discerning some values.
That means he is a viveki guy.
Yeah, he's an aviveki. He needs to actually, because he's an aviveki, then he needs to follow dharma. Now, and the dharma could be enjoined by someone or something,
Right.
like scriptures and all that stuff. Or he has to do it out of his own understanding.
Yeah,
Now,
to become viveki.
That's right. So he needs to start exercising viveka.
Yeah. But if he is a viveki and nobody tells him anything,
That's correct.
he is not going to follow them.
Exactly. So he needs to have some. That is why religions, in some way, are valuable, are a good thing in society. When the religion, let's say I was beating my wife and I used to get drunk and spend my money and all that stuff, and just have fun and had the credit cards all the way up and all that. And I didn't go to church for one day, but now all of a sudden I took religion. There's just any religion. And because of the religion, then I don't beat my wife anymore. God is going to punish you. He's watching you. He doesn't want you to hit your wife. Okay? And look at this. You want to worship the Lord? How can you worship the Lord? It's all zows with all this whiskey and all that stuff, beer, drugs and all that. You got to be clean for the Lord and so on and so on. It's religion. Okay, and not only that, look, your family you need to work. But you don't know that, well, go take some classes or something. Now the person, he's not Viveki, but now he's following Dharma, isn't it? And you know what would happen if the person was completely a person that was letting all hang out? In other words, he couldn't have peace. Number one, beating somebody up, then the other one always was beating, and then the brother was going to follow him, and the police were going to come, and then he went to the jail, and then in jail he would get raped, and all these things, the problems. And then if he doesn't work, he doesn't pay the bills, they shut off the electricity. Then the wife starts throwing things. So there's no shanti in their life. So now the guy took on religion, there's a relative shanti. Why? The guy at least is now making an effort to go to school. I said, but the guy should study Vedanta. No, let him follow Dharma. But he doesn't know what, but he's been told what Dharma is. Go to school, take care of your children, pay the bills, and so on, take a bath. So religion plays a role. It's okay. He's not a person that has discrimination, but at least gotta follow Dharma. If you have someone, a loved one that don't teach Vedanta, try to teach Vedanta to people, but help them, become dharmis. And if they don't understand what Dharma and Adharma is, just say, listen, God is watching you, watch out. And so on and so on. Use the religion part of it. And if your mind itself is going in that direction, then think of the Lord. Because this is not only for others, it's for myself, also for each one of us. Like that. So he's saying something very important. Dharma and Adharma, he has no choice. He needs to perform karma. Look, karma is dynamism. Not to do karma is what? Sloth. You know sloth?
Yeah.
And things become rancid. Rancid? Is that the right word? Rancid?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's stinky.
Yeah.
And sick. And sickening, not only for myself, but for others too. It's called tamas in Sanskrit. Is that the right application with tamas?
Exactly, that's what I think I sent you a little write-up on that sloth.
Uh-huh.
They studied the sloth, they put the thing on the sloth's head over the evening, and the next evening the sloth was still there, the water was still there filled with moths and everything does not move, and it was rancid. Exactly.
Rancid, that's correct. So this is called, in Sanskrit, it's called tamas. So just do something, man. Get your butt going. Get a firecracker, get going. And then, but make sure that what you do is what? Dharmic. Pick up a basketball and go shoot some baskets. Something. Pick up a broom, sweep out the streets, or whatever. It's dharma. Something like that. Even if it's as basic as that. Because the mind can go into a state of depression and it becomes like a pit in which you cannot get out. So you need to create some dynamism. Karma, I have no choice. Water that's just stagnant, it becomes fetid. Fetid?
Fetid.
Fetid, yeah, fetid. It needs to get going. So it has no choice. However, either impelled by understanding, seek dharma, and if you don't have that understanding, no viveka, then let that person be guided by someone to fulfill something in terms of dharma. But the person needs to want to get out of it. The person needs to at least realize that it's going downhill and it's not going to go anywhere. So this is a kind of a tough way to present, tamas and rajas. Rajas like dynamism. The consequence of that will be certain shanti, peace. It's called sattva. That's what sattva is. Sattvic. It goes into a sattvic realm. You know what's real sattva? Your thumb.
Why?
In comparison to your mind.
Thumb?
The thumb. In comparison to your mind. If the mind is all agitated, it's the same thing as having Look at your thumb. You never think of your thumb, isn't it? But it's right there in the spot ready to serve you, isn't it? Anytime. And it doesn't make any noise. It doesn't say, hey, here I am. The thumb is just there, ready to serve you. The mind should be that way. Just like the thumb, ready to serve you. That's sattvic altogether. Ready to just receive all the energy and all the possibilities that are designed for. Without the thumb, you cannot do anything. So with this mind creating problems, with the rajas, tamas in it, just ruling, then even though you do, you don't do. Why? Because you're impelled by something. But then, if the mind is like a thumb, it's called Shanti.
You know the story of Ekalavya, right?
Who?
Ekalavya.
No.
This guy was a son of a aboriginal caste or tribe, whatever it is. So he goes to Dronacharya,
Yes.
and he wanted to learn because he knew Drona was a great teacher and he teaches Arjuna and all those things. He said, oh, I want to learn from you. And Drona says, no way, I teach only the princesses. Princess, I won't teach you, you're from the lower caste or something. So this guy said, fine, and then he makes a statue of Drona because he wanted to learn from him. And he, thinking that statue is teaching him, he learns archery and he's best archer. And one day when Drona went for hunting or something in the jungle, not Drona, one day when he was practicing archery, this Ekalavya, a dog comes around, barking at him, and very vicious dog. So this guy, Ekalavya, puts a circle of arrows around his face. Just a full circle of arrows. So does not hit the dog, but just keeps his mouth shut. And the dog's owner comes behind him. Guess who that was? Drona. And he said, wow, I never saw this kind of a thing, and where did you learn from? And he said, oh Guru, I learned from you. He said, no way, I never thought you. And he said, look, that's the statue and that is this thing. And this is, give me, he has to give the dakshina for.
Right.
Oh, what can I give you? And he says, give me your thumb.
Oh my God.
So he cuts the thumb and there he goes.
There you go.
He could no longer shoot.
That's right. Because you need the thumb.
Of him, but isn't it?
Yeah.
So mean of him.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because the thumb is a more important.
No, when you say the thumb is important.
Yeah. Yeah, so the mind needs to be like a thumb.
I
Available.
don't remember
anytime.
it, but you remember the
Yeah,
story.
that's what-
I don't remember it. Something went like that.
That is very close,
Yeah.
but I'm not
It
sure.
makes you know you cannot be
Yeah, but what is the point here about the thumb and the mind and sattva and shanti? Look at this. The thumb is an amazing thing. Without it, nothing works,
Right.
isn't it?
Yeah, that's the reason.
Now, when the mind is upset, full of impurities, jealousy, anger, passions, all this stuff, then the mind is not available for you. You become the what? The slave to your mind.
Right.
The mind becomes the master, and there's no one there ruling the mind. Nobody minding the store, they say. But then, if the mind becomes fit, then it becomes like your thumb. The mind is not a source of any kind of conflict whatsoever, and then it's available for anything available. Now, there's a nature about you in terms of every human being. It's got this particular. It's like a flower. Some are supposed to give certain aroma. Some are not supposed to give aroma, just color. It's not even color or aroma, but they're supposed to just provide some seeds that will do something, or something, sustain the birds or whatever. Everybody has a particular purpose. In other words, we are wired in a particular way as human beings. And we can just become so creative in so many ways. However, when the mind is not at ease, but actually is diseased, then even though some of those things show up a little bit, they don't show up in their full manifestation as they should. The yellow of the flower becomes pale. The aroma of the flower becomes it smells, but it doesn't smell as it's supposed to. The reds are not red. The greens are not green. So I as a human being, you as a human being, somehow when the mind is available, then it manifests.
What you call gusto.
That's why it manifests fully, with no sweat.
Yeah.
Someone told me many years ago, Louis, you're holding back. You're holding back. There's something that's blocking you. Let it flow. Let it come out. I said, what the heck is that? And it is not, it's just a matter, you do your job of just doing, this work a little bit, and let me tell you, the expression becomes amazing. In spite of you. In spite of you, the artist. He can be messing around with the techniques and all that stuff and knowing all about stuff, but no piece of art comes out from that person. Unless a person is able to step aside and there you go. And they all say, oh my God, in spite of me, look at what come out. Everybody takes pictures of it. So anyway, that's the thing, so that mind needs to be like a thumb, available for anything. All that it was designed for becomes manifested, expressed. And you know what it was designed for? For you to be free, for me to be free, for me to the self to just express completely. Because the self is expressing everything that has no sense of I-ness. Even the stone is manifesting exactly the way it's supposed to. Because there's no blockage, nothing is blocking it. Nothing is holding it back. The tree, the mosquito, the bear, the lizard, everybody is doing exactly. The world, the planet, the motion of all the planets and constellations, everything is just expressing. There is no sense of I. It's a perfect order. It's an amazingly beautiful, perfect order. From the microcosm to the microcosm, but the human being can block that because of avidya, ignorance. So this self-knowledge is a freedom to just come out completely. And I'm going to go back again, Mrs. Please. I'm going to go back to the analogy of when I was a boy and I used to go to my godfather's ranch. I think I told you about my godfather's ranch. Remember I told you that we used to go there in the summer, and then they used to irrigate the alfalfa. There's alfalfa and it requires a lot of water. And they had a well that was in a kind of a valley, and then there's a pipe that used to go from the well, and they used to a pump there, a gasoline pump. They used to turn it on, and then the pipe come out, and then there was a little place about as big as this where the water fell, and from that it went into the different channels for the alfalfa to be grown, and all the different things. Now watch. We used to go there and swim in that well whenever there was water in it. Of course, we couldn't swim on it when the pump was pumping because it was about 10 inches worth of water coming out. You see? And then one day, and so there was always water. They used to put something on so the water will stay there. And we used to become like a swimming pool. Now that day, there was no water in the swimming pool. My godfather didn't expect us. He said, don't worry, kids, come over. Okay? So he took us. He was very kind. He was loving. So he says, come over with me. We'll get it fixed. So there was just a little bit of water on the, kind of residue water there on the bottom, but not enough to even wade across. It was just small. So come down. So we went there, to the place, valley, where the pump was. He says, okay, we're gonna get some water up there. And then he says, here, Louis. He said, take a bucket. I said, what? And I knew there was water because I could see the scene shining way on the bottom of the well. And I said, take a bucket. I thought it was not get water. I said, but no, we want to have enough. I thought it was making trips of buckets to be able to fill that thing. No, we're going to get some water. And I says, and go up the hill. to the beginning of to the mouth of the pipe.
Pour it in.
Okay, and then get some of the little water that's in the pool. He said, fill your bucket. I said, well, yeah, look, we're not trying to get water out of the pool. We're trying to put water into the pool. Listen, just do that. And when I tell you, you put the water, and then my brother said, now you stay on the top of the hill and watch him, and then I tell you to tell your brother to put the water in the pipe. He said, this guy is crazy. What is he talking about? Well, he wants me to take water out of the pool, the little water he has, and put it back into the well. It was crazy. But anyway, I had to do it. I said, my brother says, okay, put the water in. So I got the bucket, with a little can, filled it up, stuck the water, put a little more. And all of a sudden, he said, more side, he said, and wow, the water started coming out. And talking about, this is 10 inches worth of water coming out. He said, how does that thing work? Of course, we can view the dynamics of how that thing works, But the idea is action, karma, based on dharma. Dharma means obeying the laws. Here, gravity was working. There was I don't know what it is, when the water comes in, it fills up a little bit and doesn't create, the vacuum or whatever it is.
Air breaks
down,
continuity of
right.
water.
Well, in the same way, karma is needed for the aviveki.
That's a law.
It's a law, and the same law applies to the
Exactly
person.
same law.
So you have to actually get rid of the sloth,
Yep.
get rid of the inertia, and put some inertia in it, whatever you call that. Put some activity in it, and then the activity has to be following some particular order, particular law. It has to be dharma. The person, and if you don't know how, I didn't know what. But I was listening to my guru. It was my teacher or my priest, my father, my godfather. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. But you know what? That little action gave us an amazing swimming pool for us to play for the 2 weeks, 3 weeks we were spending there. So, in other words, everything that was already there, and all the latent potency, which was all the water that was in the well just came out, my God. So human beings somehow, without realizing it, block the flow. Yes.
That without intending any fun, that's a prime example.
That's right. So action
It's called
primes.
priming.
Primes the pump. That's what I meant, by allowing tamas to disappear, and you have no choice. You got to do karma.
The law. Dharma.
And then it has to be done in a particular way, dharma. And then with that, let me tell you, then all the possibilities become manifest.
You have to listen.
Because God is right there. God means in this case the water and the water of the well. And then, you had a little water, you could play and splash in that little water, but that's nothing, my God. When the water came on and we had a little swimming pool, and then it was just fun. They can really, really play. Otherwise, you're not playing, you're being played by circumstances. Anyway, so this remind me about that, so important. And the lesson of that little story, this happened 60 years ago, my God. Yeah, but in the Gita is perfectly tailored. It's the best psychotherapy a person can have. If a person just heeds to it. Heed is a person, if my mind just heeds to it. Like I had to heed to my father and to my godfather. I didn't quarrel with the guy. I thought he was so stupid. To get full water in it. And I tell you, it worked, my God, it worked. All right? Why? Because, you see, look at this, please. This is why it's so silly. You see, what the teaching, what the Shastra tells you is something completely opposite to your experience. The Shastra tells you what the Shastra unfolds is completely crazy. It doesn't make any sense from the standpoint of your experience. That the nature of yourself is that because of which the universe is? That's so crazy. I said, wait a minute. When I got here, the universe was already here. How can I be the creator of the universe? That this separation that I feel is completely a mistake. There's no separation whatsoever. He said, wait a minute, everything is telling me there's separation. So I need to believe my Guru, the Shastra. It is God Himself. And say, well, maybe it is true. Maybe it is true. I have to give you the benefit of the doubt. But for that, my mind needs to pick up and say, wait a minute. I need to be aching somewhere, and I need to put the solution to the ache where it belongs. I need to develop some viveka. Anyway. Okay, he says, it goes without saying that an aviveki, a person whose likes and dislikes have to be fulfilled, has no choice. Karma definitely has to be done by such a person. And while performing action, he or she has to follow dharma and adharma, right and wrong. Otherwise, the results of the person's action will be something undesirable. If not immediately, certainly later. What do you mean by undesirable? What does it mean by undesirable?
Not the way you wanted.
Okay,
Negative.
let's look at Arjuna. There was an order in the situation he was in, right? First of all, the fellow, he wasn't a monk. He actually started to be a warrior. He was a great warrior, isn't it? He was a prince. He was a statesman, isn't it? The entire community depended on him. Is that correct? And not only that, there was an oppressor that was actually hurting the community, and he was the only one in hand that can actually resolve the problem. It was not a matter of getting vengeance, isn't it? So there was the dharma, there was an order that had to be followed. Now, what he wanted to do was to do what? What does he want? He wanted to go by his likes and dislikes. He wanted to go meditate. It's called, I think it's called cup out. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
He wanted to cup out. Sorry about that. Cup out, you know. Now, yes, he could have done it. Yes, Krishna could have said, okay, let's go, come on. What would be the results? He would find a nice cave. Okay, he would get the ochre robe. Now the guy's a sannyasi, somebody would give him sannyas. He would be out there. Why would it be undesirable? It's wonderful. The guy finally got what he wanted. Why would it be undesirable? What would be undesirable about it? What would be undesirable about it? Come on.
Not get rid of the Duryodhana's actions.
The what? The review of the direction.
Duryodhana's.
Well, let's just take personally.
Oh.
Arjuna's, just put yourself in Arjuna's place, okay? You're a warrior. This is what you've been trained all your life. You're a person of action. You are a, how do you call this, a person that can plan things out, how do you call that, not just a warrior, but he was a general. He can, everything that had to be taken care of, he had to make sure that everything got done. He knew what needed to be done. How do you call that when they create the people that are going to be working as a feeders, the ones that are going to make the food, the ones that are going to get the weapons, the ones that are going to make the bullets, everything. He knew all this.
Planning the war.
That's right. He was, and not only that, the fellow was a good person. Look at this. He was a good person. Wasn't he a good person? He was a good person. Watch this. He had love for his people. He had a sense of duty to his. So now he's out there, sannyasi, meditating. Upon what? Don't you think you'll be thinking again about what went on and over, what his brothers did? The people, what they will be talking about? Duryodhana continuing on there. And don't you think he's going to be pressured by that? The guilt? Is that what he wanted?
And besides, people would think he fled.
The people who fled, yeah.
He got scared. And
He was scared and fled and all that.
Yeah.
That's what Krishna told us. You can't go out there. Look at the people that are going to come and take snapshots of you. There is a coward that ran away from the. He didn't want that. The result would be undesirable. Now, so I like that girl. She's so pretty. Here's a 70-year-old guy and she's making eyes to me and all that stuff. I like that very much and so on. So I go for that. Fun. Now, next, my son comes to, hi father, how you doing? He has a lot of respect for me, okay? And now I know in my head what I did. I betrayed his mother. I always been told him to be faithful to his wife. And now here's my son, and he respects me so much. He doesn't know anything about it, but inside of me there's something undesirable.
Okay.
What? Guilt, stress. Maybe he knows. I smell myself to make sure my wife is not going to smell it. You know, and even when I better not talk when I'm sleeping. Can you imagine? The results will be undesirable. That's what he's talking about. Adharma. In other words, living a life which is in the wrong hand will eventually, you know, even though you accomplish something, you have to pay for that. It's pain. And not that God gives you the pain, it's inside of you. Just like even thieves among thieves, they know that they did wrong. Otherwise, they would do whatever they do it in daylight. And they wouldn't run. They wouldn't be scared that cops are coming. So that's why he's talking about undesirable. Let's leave it at that. Okay? This is something that needs to be thoroughly appreciated. Because we want a mind like Arjuna's, the one's moksha. And we want to own up this knowledge. And without realizing it, innocently or foolishly, you know, we seem to be blocking ourselves from the possibilities. And life is too precious. We cannot make it just waste. I know I'm dramatizing. but this is the thing. You know, we have to actually bring it home to our regular experience. Because theorizing about Atma, Brahman, and all these words and all that doesn't mean a thing if the meaning is not picked up in my mind. Okay. Very good. Let's close the class with a prayer. Lord, lead us from what appears to be true to what is true. Lead us from confusion into clarity. Lead us, O Lord, from